Communication. Effective and reliable communication is one of the most important and critical functions of an organization. One of the most popular and much discussed case in regard to need for communication, effective communication, and perils of ineffective communication is the case of KLM 747 and Pan Am 747. Case: KLM 747 and Pan Am 747 collision. A classic case of communication failure. The collision between KLM Flight 4805 and Pan Am Flight 1736 on 27 March 1977 at Tenerife's Los Rodeos Airport, now Tenerife North Airport, is one of aviation history's most catastrophic disasters. The crash, which claimed 583 lives, is a tragic example of how communication failures can lead to devastating consequences. This disaster was not just a result of technical malfunctions or human error in piloting but was largely precipitated by a breakdown in communication among the flight crews and air traffic control. The events leading to the disaster began when both the KLM and Pan Am flights were diverted to Los Rodeos Airport due to a terrorist bombing at their original destination, Gran Canaria Airport. As the airport became crowded, the KLM and Pan Am aircraft were instructed to taxi on the same runway. A series of miscommunications and misunderstandings occurred at this point, leading to the eventual collision. One of the critical communication failures was the ambiguity in the messages exchanged between the KLM flight crew and the ATC. The KLM captain, eager to take off, misunderstood an ATC clearance. The tower instructed the KLM crew to stand by for takeoff, but the captain interpreted this as clearance to begin the takeoff roll. This misinterpretation was compounded by the fact that the non-native English-speaking crew used phraseology that did not precisely align with standard aviation communication practices. The KLM crew announced that they were ready for takeoff, to which the ATC responded with "OK," followed by instructions to stand by for takeoff. The captain, under time pressure and perhaps confused, interpreted this response as an authorization to take off. Simultaneously, the Pan Am aircraft was still on the runway, following ATC instructions to taxi and exit at the third taxiway. Poor visibility due to heavy fog further exacerbated the situation, making it difficult for the flight crews to see each other, resulting in a catastrophic collision. Functions of communication. Functions of communication in organizations. A comprehensive overview. Communication is a fundamental process that plays a pivotal role in the functioning of any organization. Effective communication is not only about exchanging information but also about facilitating various organizational processes that contribute to achieving goals and ensuring smooth operations. Four primary functions of communication within an organization are control behavior, employee motivation, emotional expression, and information for decision-making. Each of these functions serves a distinct purpose, contributing to the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the organization. Control behavior. One of the essential functions of communication is to control behavior within the organization. Through communication, management sets the expectations, rules, and regulations that guide employees' actions. This includes directives, policies, and procedures that dictate how tasks should be performed and the standards that must be met. Control through communication ensures that employees understand what is expected of them, reducing ambiguity, and aligning their actions with the organization's objectives. For instance, a manager may communicate performance standards to employees, which helps in maintaining consistency and quality in work outputs. Employee motivation. Communication is a powerful tool for motivating employees. By effectively communicating goals, expectations, and feedback, managers can inspire employees to perform at their best. When employees are informed about the organization's vision, their roles, and how their work contributes to the larger picture, they are more likely to be engaged and motivated. Positive reinforcement through communication, such as praise for good work, recognition of achievements, and constructive feedback, can significantly boost morale and encourage continuous improvement. A notable real-world example of employee motivation through effective communication is Google's approach with its Google Geist survey. Google conducts this annual employee survey to gauge job satisfaction and gather feedback on various aspects of the work environment. The company then communicates the survey results transparently to employees and takes actionable steps based on the feedback received. For instance, if employees express concerns about work-life balance, Google may implement new initiatives such as flexible working hours or additional wellness programs. This open dialogue not only shows employees that their opinions are valued but also fosters a culture of trust and continuous improvement, leading to higher motivation and job satisfaction. Emotional expression. Communication also serves as a channel for emotional expression, which is crucial for building a positive organizational culture. Through communication, employees can express their feelings, concerns, and frustrations, creating an environment where they feel heard and understood. This function is particularly important in fostering teamwork, as it allows for the sharing of experiences, support among colleagues, and the building of trust. Emotional expression through communication also helps in managing workplace stress and conflict. When employees can openly communicate their emotions, it contributes to a healthier work environment, where issues can be addressed before they escalate. Managers who encourage open communication and show empathy through their interactions can create a more inclusive and supportive workplace. Information for decision-making. The final critical function of communication is to provide the necessary information for decision-making. In any organization, decisions need to be based on accurate, timely, and relevant information, and communication is the medium through which this information is shared. Whether it's data on market trends, customer feedback, financial reports, or internal performance metrics, communication ensures that decision-makers have access to the information they need. Effective communication channels facilitate the flow of information across different levels of the organization, enabling managers and employees to make informed decisions that align with the organization's goals. At Google, cross-functional teams are commonly used to develop new products or features. For instance, when developing a new feature for Google Search, a team might include engineers, designers, data scientists, and product managers. Effective communication is key to their decision-making process. Open dialogue. Google encourages open communication among team members. This means that everyone, regardless of their role, can voice their opinions and provide input. This collaborative approach ensures that diverse perspectives are considered. Data-driven decisions. Teams at Google use data to guide their decisions. For example, if a team is developing a new feature, they will collect and analyze user data to understand how the feature impacts user experience and performance. Feedback loops. Google implements regular feedback loops within their teams. For instance, they might have weekly check-ins where team members discuss progress, address challenges, and adjust their strategies based on feedback. Clear goals and metrics. Before making decisions, teams establish clear goals and metrics to measure success. This ensures that decisions are aligned with the company's objectives and are based on measurable outcomes. Communication process. Communication is an essential aspect of human interaction, enabling the exchange of ideas, emotions, and information. The communication process is a complex system that involves several key components: source, encoding, channel, message, receiver, decoding, and feedback. Understanding these elements and how they interact is crucial to effective communication. Source. The communication process begins with the source, or the sender. The source is the originator of the message and is responsible for creating and initiating the communication. This could be an individual, a group, or even an organization. The effectiveness of communication depends largely on the source's clarity, credibility, and intent. A source that is knowledgeable, trustworthy, and clear in its purpose is more likely to communicate effectively. Encoding. Once the source has formulated a message, the next step is encoding. Encoding is the process of turning thoughts, ideas, or information into a communicable form. This could involve selecting words, symbols, images, or gestures to represent the message. The choice of encoding is influenced by the sender's understanding of the receiver's background, language, and context. Effective encoding requires that the source consider how the receiver will interpret the message, as any misalignment between the sender's intent and the receiver's understanding can lead to miscommunication. Here is an example. Situation: a manager sends an email to their team saying, "We need to discuss the project deliverables in detail during the meeting tomorrow." Sender's intent: the manager intends to emphasize the importance of focusing on project deliverables in the next meeting and expects the team to come prepared with relevant updates and questions. Receiver's understanding: one team member interprets this message as a directive to finalize and submit the project deliverables before the meeting, thinking they need to have everything completed rather than just being prepared to discuss it. Result: the team member works late into the night to complete the deliverables and submits them before the meeting. During the meeting, it becomes clear that the manager only wanted to discuss the deliverables, not require their completion. This leads to confusion and frustration as the work that was done was not needed at that point, and the focus of the meeting shifts to address the premature submission rather than the intended discussion. Message: the message is the core of the communication process. It is the content that the sender wishes to convey to the receiver. The message can be verbal or non-verbal, written or spoken, visual or auditory. The message must be crafted carefully to ensure it is clear and free of ambiguity. The success of communication depends on how well the message is structured and whether it aligns with the receiver's expectations and needs. Here is an example. One classic example of message ambiguity leading to communication failure is the famous incident involving the Apollo 13 mission. During the mission, the astronauts reported a problem with the spacecraft's oxygen tanks. The message sent back to mission control was, "Houston, we have a problem." The ambiguity in the message was due to the lack of specific details about the nature and extent of the problem. The phrase, "we have a problem," was interpreted differently by various parties. Mission Control initially thought it might be a minor issue, but as the situation unfolded, it became clear that the problem was far more severe than initially understood. This ambiguity in communication led to confusion and a scramble to address the critical situation. The lesson here is that clear, detailed communication is essential, especially in high-stakes situations where ambiguity can lead to misinterpretations and delays in response. The channel is the medium through which the message is transmitted from the source to the receiver. Channels can be various forms, including face-to-face conversations, written documents, phone calls, emails, or even social media. The choice of channel is crucial as it can influence the effectiveness of the communication. For instance, a face-to-face conversation may be more appropriate for sensitive topics, while an email might be sufficient for routine information. The selected channel should suit the nature of the message and the preferences of the receiver. Here is an example. Situation: a project manager needed to inform the team about an urgent change in project deadlines due to an unforeseen client request. Communication channel: the project manager decided to send an email to the team. Outcome: delayed response. Several team members did not check their email frequently, and some missed the message altogether. As a result, they continued working with the old deadlines. Confusion: the email was lengthy and detailed, which led to confusion about the new deadlines and the revised project scope. Lack of immediate feedback: the project manager did not receive immediate feedback or acknowledgement from the team, leading to uncertainty about whether everyone was on the same page. Result: the project suffered delays because the team was not aligned with the new deadlines. The project manager had to follow up with additional meetings and reminders to ensure everyone was informed and clear about the changes. Lesson: in this case, a more immediate and interactive communication channel, such as a team meeting or a real-time messaging platform, example Slack, would have been more effective. These channels would have allowed for instant feedback, ensured that everyone received the message promptly, and provided an opportunity to clarify any confusion on the spot. Receiver: the receiver is the person or group for whom the message is intended. The receiver's role is critical because the success of the communication depends on their ability to accurately interpret and understand the message. Factors such as the receiver's knowledge, experience, and attitude can greatly influence how the message is received. The receiver must be open to the message and willing to engage with the content for communication to be effective. Example: Lisa, who sends an email to her team requesting updates on a project. She writes, "Please send me your progress reports by end of day." However, one of the team members, John, has a habit of being defensive and perceives any request for updates as criticism of his work. He reads Lisa's email and thinks she's questioning his commitment or blaming him for delays. Instead of replying with the progress report, he sends a curt response: "I'm working on it. I don't need to be micromanaged." This response not only fails to provide the requested update but also creates tension between John and Lisa. The failure in communication here stems from John's attitude. His defensive stance affects his interpretation of the message and leads to a breakdown in effective communication. If John had approached the email with an open mind, he would have seen it as a routine request rather than an attack. Decoding. Decoding is the process by which the receiver interprets and makes sense of the message. This involves translating the sender's encoded message into meaningful ideas or information. Effective decoding requires that the receiver have the ability to understand the symbols, language, or gestures used by the sender. Miscommunication often occurs at this stage if the receiver misinterprets the message due to differences in background, context, or experience. Feedback. Feedback is the final component of the communication process. It is the response from the receiver back to the sender, indicating whether the message has been understood as intended. Feedback can be verbal or non-verbal and helps the sender assess the effectiveness of the communication. It provides an opportunity for the sender to clarify or adjust the message if necessary. Without feedback, the sender cannot confirm whether the communication was successful. Communication process is a dynamic and interactive system that relies on the effective functioning of its components. Understanding the roles of the source, encoding, channel, message, receiver, decoding, and feedback is essential to enhancing communication. By recognizing and addressing potential barriers at each stage of the process, individuals and organizations can improve their ability to convey and receive messages effectively. Communication distortion. Communication distortion occurs when the intended message is altered or misinterpreted, leading to misunderstandings or misinformation. This can happen due to various factors such as noise, biases, cultural differences, or language barriers. When communication is distorted, the original meaning of the message is lost, and the receiver may perceive something entirely different from what the sender intended. This can lead to conflicts, reduced effectiveness, and damaged relationships. To minimize communication distortion, it is essential to use clear, concise language, actively listen, seek feedback, and be aware of potential barriers that could interfere with the accurate transmission of the message. A classic example: the tragic case of the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster in 1986. This event highlights how miscommunication and the distortion of important information can lead to catastrophic consequences. NASA's Space Shuttle Challenger was scheduled to launch on 28 January 1986. Engineers from Morton Thiokol, the contractor responsible for the solid rocket boosters, raised concerns about the O-rings used in the boosters. These O-rings were critical seals designed to prevent hot gases from escaping during the rocket's launch. The engineers were particularly worried about the unusually cold temperatures on the day of the launch, which they believed could cause the O-rings to become brittle and fail. The engineers at Morton Thiokol strongly recommended delaying the launch due to the risk of O-ring failure in the cold weather. However, when this concern was communicated up the chain of command to NASA management, the urgency and seriousness of the issue were downplayed. Several factors contributed to this distortion. Pressure to launch. NASA was under significant pressure to maintain its launch schedule, partly due to the public nature of the launch and the presence of a civilian, schoolteacher Krista McAuliffe, aboard the shuttle. Groupthink. There was a tendency within NASA and Morton Thiokol's upper management to prioritize consensus and avoid conflict, leading to a downplaying of dissenting opinions from engineers. Technical jargon. The technical nature of the engineers' concerns may not have been fully understood or appreciated by the decision makers, leading to a misinterpretation of the risks. Overconfidence in past success. Previous launches had occurred without catastrophic O-ring failure, leading to a false sense of security and the dismissal of the engineers' concerns. Outcome. Despite the warnings, the Challenger was launched as scheduled. 73 seconds after liftoff, the O-rings failed as predicted, leading to the breakup of the shuttle and the death of all 7 crew members. Lessons. This tragic event underscores the importance of clear, accurate communication, especially in high-stakes situations. Distorted communication, whether due to pressure, misunderstanding, or the filtering of critical information, can lead to disastrous outcomes. It highlights the need for decision makers to listen to and fully consider the input of experts, particularly when safety is at stake. Communication apprehension. Communication apprehension refers to the fear or anxiety experienced by individuals when engaging in communication with others, especially in public or formal settings. This fear can stem from various factors, including self-esteem issues, fear of judgment, or past negative experiences. Those who suffer from communication apprehension may avoid situations that require verbal interaction, which can limit personal and professional growth. Overcoming this apprehension often involves practice, gradual exposure, and building confidence through positive experiences. Understanding and addressing the root causes of communication apprehension is crucial for improving one's ability to effectively express ideas and connect with others. Example: a new employee in a meeting. Scenario: a new employee, Sarah, has joined a marketing team at a large company. She has great ideas and insights from her previous job, but she struggles with communication apprehension, particularly in group settings. In one of her first team meetings, the manager asked for suggestions on how to improve an upcoming product launch. Communication failure. Sarah had a unique and potentially game-changing idea that could improve the campaign's effectiveness. However, due to her communication apprehension, she chose not to speak up during the meeting. She feared that her idea might be dismissed or that she might not articulate it well in front of her new colleagues. Later, the team implemented a different strategy that was less effective. The product launch did not meet expectations, and during a post-launch review, Sarah finally shared her idea with a colleague in a one-on-one conversation. Her colleague immediately recognized its value and regretted that it wasn't brought up during the initial meeting. Consequences: missed opportunity. The team missed out on a valuable idea that could have improved the product launch. Reduced confidence. Sarah's apprehension was reinforced by the outcome, making her even less likely to contribute in future meetings. Team dynamics. The team remained unaware of Sarah's full potential, which could have hindered future collaboration and innovation. This example illustrates how communication apprehension can lead to missed opportunities, hinder team effectiveness, and negatively impact both individual and organizational success. Communication fundamentals. Direction. Downward. Upward. Lateral. Communication direction within an organization refers to the flow of information between different levels of the hierarchy and among peers. There are 3 primary directions: upward, downward, and lateral. Upward communication occurs when information flows from subordinates to superiors. This type of communication is essential for management to understand employee concerns, gather feedback, and assess the effectiveness of policies and strategies. However, it can be hindered by fear of repercussions or lack of trust, making it crucial for leaders to create an open and supportive environment. Downward communication flows from higher levels of the organizational hierarchy to lower levels. It typically involves directives, instructions, policies, and feedback provided by management to employees. Effective downward communication ensures that everyone in the organization understands their roles, responsibilities, and goals. However, it can sometimes lead to information overload or misunderstandings if not communicated clearly. Lateral communication, or horizontal communication, occurs between individuals or departments at the same hierarchical level. This type of communication is vital for coordination, collaboration, and problem-solving across different parts of an organization. Lateral communication fosters teamwork and can lead to innovation, but it may also lead to conflicts if not managed properly. Each communication direction plays a crucial role in ensuring an organization's efficiency and success. Networks. Formal. Informal grapevine. Communication networks. Formal, informal, grapevine, rumors, and gossips. Communication networks form the backbone of information flow within any organization or social group. These networks can be broadly categorized into formal and informal types, each serving distinct purposes and functioning in unique ways. Understanding these networks, along with the phenomena of the grapevine, rumors, and gossip, is crucial for managing and navigating organizational communication effectively. Formal communication networks are structured and follow a predefined chain of command. These networks are designed to convey official information, policies, and procedures. Typically, formal communication flows in a hierarchical manner, where information is passed from top management to subordinates or laterally between departments. The primary advantage of formal networks is their ability to maintain clarity, consistency, and accountability. However, these networks can sometimes be slow and rigid, leading to delays in information dissemination or a lack of flexibility in addressing emergent issues. In contrast, informal communication networks arise naturally and are based on personal relationships, shared interests, or social interactions rather than official channels. These networks are more flexible and can spread information quickly, often bypassing the formal hierarchy. While informal networks can foster camaraderie and collaboration, they can also give rise to issues like misinformation or the spread of unverified information. The grapevine is a well-known informal communication network that often carries unofficial information across an organization. It is fast, and because it often involves informal conversations, it can spread news, both true and false, rapidly. The grapevine can be beneficial, as it allows employees to stay informed about developments that might not yet be formally announced. However, it can also be a breeding ground for rumors and gossip. Rumors are unverified pieces of information that often arise when there is a lack of official communication or when people feel uncertain about a situation. They can spread quickly through the grapevine, fueled by speculation and anxiety. If left unchecked, rumors can damage trust, create confusion, and lead to unnecessary stress within the organization. Gossip, a subset of rumors, typically involves the discussion of personal or private affairs of individuals within the organization. While gossip can sometimes serve as a social bonding mechanism, it is often seen as negative because it can lead to the spread of false or harmful information, damage reputations, and create a toxic work environment. Mode. Verbal. Non-verbal. Verbal communication involves the use of words, either spoken or written, to express ideas. It is direct and explicit, allowing for clear and precise communication. This mode includes face-to-face conversations, phone calls, emails, and written texts. The tone, pitch, and pace of speech in verbal communication also contribute to the message, adding layers of meaning beyond the words themselves. Nonverbal communication, on the other hand, encompasses all the other ways we convey messages without using words. This includes body language, facial expressions, gestures, eye contact, posture, and even the use of space and silence. Nonverbal cues often accompany verbal communication, providing context and enhancing the understanding of the message. For example, a smile can reinforce a friendly greeting, while crossed arms might indicate defensiveness. Both modes of communication are interdependent, often working together to ensure that the intended message is accurately received and understood. Mastering both verbal and nonverbal communication is essential for effective interpersonal interactions, fostering understanding, and building strong relationships. Channel: face-to-face, telephone, email, flyers, bulletins, etc. Face-to-face communication is often regarded as the most effective channel because it allows for immediate feedback, the ability to interpret nonverbal cues, and fosters personal connections. The telephone is another valuable communication channel, bridging the gap between the personal touch of face-to-face interaction and the convenience of distance communication. It allows for real-time conversation but lacks the visual component, making it challenging to gauge the speaker's emotions or intent fully. Email, on the other hand, is a versatile and widely used channel, particularly in professional settings. It provides a written record of communication, which is beneficial for referencing and documentation. However, the lack of immediacy and potential for misinterpretation due to the absence of tone and body language can be drawbacks. Flyers and bulletins are more traditional communication channels used primarily for disseminating information to a broad audience. While they are effective for delivering concise, clear messages, they lack interactivity and are best suited for straightforward announcements or promotions rather than nuanced communication. Among the most significant of these barriers are filtering, selective perception, defensiveness, and language differences. Filtering occurs when the sender of a message manipulates information so that it will be seen more favorably by the receiver. Filtering can result in the receiver receiving an incomplete or distorted version of the original message, which can lead to misunderstandings. For example, an employee may downplay the severity of a problem when reporting it to a manager, leading the manager to underestimate the issue's urgency and fail to take appropriate action. Selective perception refers to the tendency of individuals to interpret messages based on their own experiences, beliefs, and expectations, rather than the intended meaning of the sender. Selective perception can lead to misunderstandings, as individuals may ignore or distort parts of a message that do not align with their existing views. For example, a person with a negative outlook may focus only on the negative aspects of a message, ignoring any positive content. Defensiveness is a barrier that arises when individuals feel threatened by the message or the sender. In such cases, they may react by becoming defensive, which can obstruct open and effective communication. Finally, language differences pose a significant communication barrier, particularly in multicultural or multilingual environments. Language can be a barrier when the sender and receiver do not share the same linguistic background or when jargon, slang, or technical terms are used that the receiver does not understand. Effective employee communications in practice. Walking the talk. Walking the talk is crucial for effective communication because it bridges the gap between words and actions, fostering trust and credibility. When leaders and communicators align their behavior with their statements, they demonstrate integrity and authenticity, making their messages more persuasive and impactful. Two-way communication. Two-way communication is vital for effective communication because it fosters mutual understanding and engagement. Unlike one-way communication, where information flows in a single direction, two-way communication involves an exchange of ideas, feedback, and responses between parties. Face-to-face. Face-to-face communication remains vital for effective interaction due to its unique capacity for conveying nuanced information and fostering deeper connections. Unlike digital or written forms, in-person dialogue allows for immediate feedback through body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice, which enriches understanding and reduces misunderstandings. Shared communication. Shared communication is crucial for effective interaction, ensuring clarity and mutual understanding. When individuals or groups engage in open dialogue, they align their perspectives and objectives, which minimizes misunderstandings and conflicts. This synergy fosters trust, allowing for more collaborative problem-solving and decision-making. Shared communication also involves active listening, where participants genuinely consider each other's viewpoints and feedback. Dealing with bad news. Dealing with bad news effectively is crucial for maintaining clear and compassionate communication. Begin by delivering the news directly but with sensitivity, ensuring that the message is clear yet considerate of the recipient's feelings. Use empathetic language to acknowledge their emotions and provide context to help them understand the situation. It's important to listen actively to their response and offer support, whether through solutions or simply by being present. Issues in communication. Gender conflict. Gender conflict in communication often arises from differing societal expectations and communication styles attributed to men and women. Men are frequently socialized to be assertive and direct, whereas women are often encouraged to be empathetic and cooperative. These contrasting approaches can lead to misunderstandings and tensions in both personal and professional settings. Politically correct communication. Pick of words. Political correctness plays a crucial role in fostering respectful and effective communication by ensuring that language does not marginalize or offend individuals based on their race, gender, or background. Using inclusive and considerate language promotes mutual understanding and prevents misunderstandings. For instance, referring to someone as differently abled rather than handicapped reflects sensitivity and respect, aligning with the individual's dignity. Cross-cultural communication. Effective cross-cultural communication hinges on the importance of care, which involves sensitivity and respect for cultural differences. This attentiveness fosters mutual understanding and reduces the risk of misunderstandings. For instance, in a business meeting between an American company and a Japanese firm, an American executive who actively learns and respects Japanese etiquette, such as bowing and exchanging business cards with both hands, demonstrates cultural care. This gesture not only shows respect but also builds rapport, facilitating smoother negotiations. Electronic communications. Effective electronic communication hinges on the careful crafting of messages to ensure clarity and avoid misunderstandings. The importance of care in this context cannot be overstated, as digital interactions often lack the nonverbal cues present in face-to-face conversations. For example, a project manager emailing team members about a deadline must clearly articulate the due date and expectations to prevent confusion. For more lectures on organizational behavior and other subjects, subscribe to the channel.